Welcome to Bible Time with Mrs. Shirley at Walter Hill Church of Christ. Are your feet and hands still? Are your eyes ready to focus and your ears ready to listen to another lesson from God's Word? Tell of Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Tell of places Jesus used to go. Tell of Galilee and Gethsemane. Tell of Jesus, for he loves me so. Bible stories, good for summer, winter, spring, and fall. Bible stories are the best of all. The last time we were together, our word was resurrection. And we talked about some of the different people that Jesus raised from the dead. He raised one who was a good friend of his. He was the brother of Mary and Martha. Do you remember his name? Lazarus. And he also raised the daughter of someone. And we don't know the girl's name, but we know her dad's name. She was the daughter of, it starts with a J, Jairus. And the other one he raised from the dead was a son. We don't know the son's name, and we don't know his mother's name. We know the mother was a widow from a certain city. She was the widow of, it starts with an N, rhymes with rain, Nain, the widow of Nain. So Jesus raised a friend, a son, and a daughter. But most importantly, Jesus himself raised from the dead. Let's see what our word is today. That's odd. I don't see a word. Let me turn around the other way. There's not a word there either. Wow, my word just appeared. And that's what the word is, appear. Now let's look at a Bible verse where we see the word appear. The Lord is risen indeed and has appeared to Simon. After Jesus was resurrected, he appeared to many people before he went back up into heaven. And some of the gospel writers told us about that. What do I mean by gospel writers? The men who wrote the first 4 books of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were living when Jesus was living, and they saw things that he did. They heard things that he said, and they wrote those things in books that became part of our Bible. Matthew wrote Matthew, Mark wrote Mark, Luke wrote Luke, and John wrote John. Each of those men wrote about the life of Jesus, and I am so glad that those books are in our Bible. First, let's look again at the story of Jesus' resurrection. Mark tells us this story in Mark chapter 16. Very early on Sunday morning, 3 days after Jesus died on the cross, 2 of his friends, both called Mary, went to the tomb with another lady named Salome. They took special perfumes and spices to anoint Jesus with. They were feeling sad. They had seen where Jesus had been put in a tomb, like a cave, and they knew where he was. But how could they move the big, heavy stone the soldiers had put over the door? They got a surprise when they got there. The stone had been rolled away. They went inside and saw an angel. But where was Jesus? "Don't be frightened," said the angel. "Jesus isn't here. He is alive. Go and tell everyone the wonderful news." The happy women ran off to share the good news that Jesus was alive. John tells us a little more about this story in the book he wrote. In John chapter 20, we learn a little bit more. Mary Magdalene went to Jesus' tomb 3 days after he had died. She saw that the tomb was empty. She went to tell Peter and John. Peter and John had to see for themselves. They both ran to the tomb. They saw the empty clothes, but it was true. Jesus was gone. They went back, puzzled over what had happened. Mary stayed at the tomb crying. 2 angels asked her, "Why are you crying?" "They have taken Jesus away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." Then she heard another voice, "Woman, why are you crying?" Mary thought it was the gardener. "Where have you taken Jesus?" she asked. "Mary," the person replied. She knew right then it was Jesus. She dried her eyes and looked up. It really was Jesus. He was alive. Mary was so happy. Jesus was dead, but now he was alive. Jesus told her to go and find his friends and tell them the good news. Mary ran to find Jesus' friends. "I have seen Jesus. He is alive and he spoke to me."
I know a song about some of the miracles of Jesus.
Ooh, let's sing it.
Good. It's a miracle extraordinary, wow. A miracle, and people wondered how. He caused the lame to walk, he caused the blind to see. The deaf could hear, the mute could speak, he even cured diseases. It's a miracle extraordinary, wow. A miracle, and people wondered how. The multitudes were fed, he walked upon the sea. He died upon a painful cross and rose again for me. It's a miracle.
And Jesus raising from the dead was a miracle. So far, we talked about a little bit about what John told us in his book. And we talked about a little bit from the book of Mark. Well, let's see what Luke adds in his gospel. 2 men were walking home along the road to Emmaus, feeling sad. While they had been in Jerusalem, Jesus had died on the cross. These men and their friends had thought that Jesus was God's promised son, but now they weren't really sure. Now some of Jesus' friends had said that Jesus had risen from the dead. They were very confused. While they were talking, a stranger began to walk with them. "Why are you so sad?" he asked. "All these things are written in the scriptures." The stranger told them how everything that had happened to Jesus was part of God's plan. His words gave them hope. When they got to their village, they invited the stranger in for a meal. He took the bread, broke it, and blessed it. Suddenly, the 2 men recognized that it was Jesus. Then Jesus disappeared. Jesus had broken the bread, thanking God like that. And they knew they had seen Jesus. He was alive. They ran straight back to Jerusalem to tell all Jesus' friends that they had seen Jesus. And they told them everything that Jesus had said to them. Jesus appeared to all of them and he said, "Peace be to you." And they were a little afraid. And they weren't sure it was really Jesus. They thought maybe they were seeing a ghost. But Jesus said, "I'm not a spirit. Look, I have flesh and bones. Give me something to eat." And so they gave him some honeycomb and some bread. And he ate that in front of them. Jesus explained that his death and his resurrection were all part of God's plan, and that he was expecting them to go out into the world and tell everyone about it. They would be Jesus' witnesses to everyone. But one of the apostles was not there when Jesus appeared to the group. John tells us about this in his gospel. "Jesus is alive. We saw him," Jesus' friends told Thomas. "I won't believe you until I see Jesus with my own eyes," he said. When the friends met the next week, everyone was happy except Thomas. "Unless I see his hands and his feet, I will not believe." Suddenly, Jesus was standing right there in the room. He appeared even though the door was shut. Everyone was surprised to see him, especially Thomas. "Peace be to you," Jesus said. "Thomas, touch my hands and see that I am alive." Then Thomas knew that Jesus had risen from the dead, and he believed because he had seen Jesus himself. "Thomas, you are glad now," Jesus said. "You believe I am alive only because you have seen me with your very own eyes. But blessed are those who have not seen and still believe." I am so glad that Matthew and Mark and Luke and John wrote all about Jesus' lives, that they saw him and told us about it so that we can also believe. Aren't you glad that we have those books in our Bible? Let's sing our New Testament book song together. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts and the letter to the Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians and Ephesians, Philippians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus and Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd and 3rd John, Jude and Revelation. This week, as you think about our word appear, thank God that so many people saw Jesus when he appeared to them on earth, so that we can read about that and study about that and know about Jesus today. Have a great week.